This is Patrick Roth, Senior Support Engineer for E1 Business Solutions. Ran across something interesting the other day that I haven't run across before, so I thought I'd make a good article and a video. The user had downloaded SQL views from Victoria's Union site. I know she's got a lot of amazing stuff out there. You should check her out. So he had pulled down a specific SQL view, and it was run fine in SQL. Select star from view AR details, and it returned data all that it expected to be. So he wanted to make a SmartList Builder report out of it. So that he created the view, and then from a SmartList Builder perspective, if we pull it up, SmartList Builder perspective, you just add SQL permissions to the view from the GP side and the SQL side, and then of course the SmartList Builder side, and then you add the view. It'll pull in the tables list from the view automatically, and then you can mark which ones you want to default. In this case, I didn't have the view. I didn't know where it came from initially, and so I just had, hey, could you send me your view? And as long as you're at it, send a report. So this is actually his report that I imported in, which makes sense looking at the view, because these are nice friendly names, and not all of the names are quote unquote friendly in the SQL view. So it's already been edited. And of course, you can always edit this as you want in SmartList Builder, and it renames the columns however you set it up. So in this case, I imported it in, looked at it. It has columns, seems fine. And so after saving it, and here I just get clear, I can launch SmartList, and I can run the report, and we could see that the default columns run fine. And so you say, okay. So the column that was a problem was the applied to doc number, and we can see that it's right here up on top to pick. On hindsight, of course, 2020, that should have raised a red flag. It did not immediately. And so I added it, it put it at the end of the list, and I run it, and I get no data. So from a SmartList Builder perspective, if all of a sudden you get no data, that means something failed on the SQL side. We don't tell you what it was, we don't tell you what happened, but indeed something happened. Most of the time, especially when you're working with views, it's usually a SQL permissions error, but I'm logged in with SA, so it's not going to be a SQL permissions error. This is just one single view. It's not using cross databases or anything funny. So we expect there to be some kind of SQL problem in this. So normally at this point, you always want to turn on the GP deck SQL log. And so, you do that by turning on the SQL tracing switches all to true, those first 3 lines. And then you'd have to restart GP, and then of course rerun your report the same way through the error. In this case, I always leave my deck SQL log running, and I don't care about the old stuff. If I wanted to clear it out, I suppose I could just delete it, but any errors are going to be at the bottom. Okay, I hit refresh. So basically the only thing you should do is generate that report. And if we look, just figuring out what to do, looking at the tables, seeing what we're going to do. And finally, we see the actual SQL statement. And we look at this, valid column name applied to doc number. Okay, did look like that was correct. If we look in the name of the columns here, select top 1000, gets the date. Dex doesn't alias them, so we see the actual raw one. And so it's using the standard is null. And looks pretty good. If we want to double check our math, we can grab this. And if we pop out to the database, and this is the 224 database, if I run it, I should see the exact same errors. And indeed I do. There's really not much of a difference between running a report in SmartList Builder and running in T-SQL. The only difference is some default auto settings that Dexterity does, which makes actually some things not possible like it would be with Visual Studio. But this is indeed an error in the SQL. So we're puzzled. If we pull up the actual view that was sent, and we'll just see if we can find it. Apply to doc type, no. Apply to doc name, no. Apply to doc number. Ah, that's our problem. So in this particular case, they are trimming the A applied to doc num, and they're giving it an alias with applied to doc number, which is fine, but there's a leading space right here. Okay, so when we looked at our DocSQL log, we noticed that there is no leading space. So this is the problem. So if I would go back to SQL, and add the space in, notice that SQL's happier, and it indeed runs. So, so it looks like this was a. So this looks like what the real problem is when extender, or excuse me, SmartList Builder is spinning through the list of columns to get them from the ning. It's trimming off the leading space. I'm not sure offhand if that's the code in SmartList Builder that's doing a trim and removing it. It's also possible that this is actually coming from the dexterity function, and the dexterity function that's used to pull in the column name, pull in the column name from the view, from syscolumn. So it might also be doing it. So I haven't investigated far enough along there. So in order to solve this, the easiest solution from a SmartList Builder point of view is just remove this space out of the actual view. And then since this is, I could just switch this to an alter view and then rerun this. And then now this field no longer has that leading space. And if we run this and then we run it out of, so let's do that. So here, we're going to change that. And now it's alter view. If I run it, it said it's successful. So I would expect this to be immediately successful as well. And it is. Let me see the apply to doc number. So easiest way to do is fix that leading space in the view. Make sure you update it on the SQL database. Shouldn't have to do anything on the SmartList Builder side because it's already changed.